Madhava? Okay. All right. You'll know it soon enough. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Bhajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Bhajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parvajikacharya Ashtottara Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parvajikacharya Ashtottara Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavini Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Okay. Yeah, if you could just move over one seat. There's the lady side here. This your first time? Hare Krishna, welcome. Okay, so let's just to get this straight. I have this marked here. And text 2 on page 33. 33. All right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 28th day of August, 2023 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Devadatta Swami Prabhupada. And we are near the beginning of chapter 1, observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukṣetra. Text number 2, page 33. Sanjaya Uvacha Drishtva Tu Pandavanikam Vyudham Duryodhanas Tada Acharyam Upasangamya Raja Vachanam Abravit. Sanjaya Vacha Drishtva tu Pandavanikam Vyudham Duryodhanastada Acharyam Upasangamya Raja Vachanam Abravit. Sanjaya Vacha Drishtva tu Pandavanikam Vyudham Duryodhanastada Acharyam Upasangamya Raja Vachanam Abravit. Sanjaya Vacha Drishtva tu Pandavanikam Vyudham Duryodhanastada Acharyam Upasangamya Raja Vachanam Abravit. Dharmaraj. Sanjaya Vacha Drishtva tu Pandavanikam Vyudham Duryodhanastada Acharyam Upasangamya Raja Vachanam Abravit. Sanjaya Vacha Drishtva tu Pandavanikam Vyudham Duryodhanastada Acharyam Upasangamya Raja Vachanam Abravit. Ladies? No? Not yet. Chad? Not
Sanjay.
yet. Oh, wait, we have a lady. Okay, go ahead. Chalatala.
Sanjaya Vacha
Sanjaya Vacha
Drishtva tu Pandavanikam
Drishtva tu Pandavanikam
Vyudham Duryodhanastada
Vyudham Duryodhanastada
Acharyam Upasangamya
Acharyam Upasangamya
Raja Vachanam Abravit.
Raja Vachanam Abravit. Okay, I'll just read the word by word. Sanjaya Vacha, Sanjay said, Drishtva, after seeing, tu, but, Pandava Anikam, the soldiers of the Pandavas, Vyudham, arranged in a military phalanx, Duryodhana, King Duryodhan, Tada, at that time, Acharyam, the teacher, Upasangamya, approaching, Raja, the king, Vachanam, words Abravit, spoke. Okay. Sanjay said, O king, after looking over the army arranged in military formation by the sons of Pandu, King Duryodhana went to his teacher and spoke the following words. So just to recap, there's one verse that started the chapter and started the whole Bhagavad Gita. Dhritarashtra said, O Sanjay, after my sons and the sons of Pandu assembled in the place of pilgrimage at Kurukṣetra, desiring to fight, what did they do? And then Sanjay said, O king, after looking over the army arrangement military formation by the sons of Pandu, King Duryodhana went to his teacher and spoke the following words. Purport. Dhritarashtra was blind from birth. Unfortunately, he was also bereft of spiritual vision. He knew very well that his sons were equally blind in the matter of religion, and he was sure that they could never reach an understanding with the Pandavas, who were all pious since birth. Still, he was doubtful about the influence of the place of pilgrimage, and Sanjaya could understand his motive in asking about the situation on the battlefield. Sanjaya wanted, therefore, to encouraged the despondent king and thus assured him that his sons were not going to make any sort of compromise under the influence of the holy place. Sanjaya therefore informed the king that his son Duryodhana, after seeing the military force of the Pandavas, at once went to the commander-in-chief, Dronacharya, to inform him of the real position. Although Duryodhana is mentioned as the king, he still had to go to the commander on account of the seriousness of the situation. He was therefore quite fit to be a politician, but Duryodhana's diplomatic veneer could not disguise the fear he felt when he saw the military arrangement of the Pandavas. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmidatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance to him and all members of Sri Parampara. So, we have newcomers, and we have old salts, so to speak. So I'm going to just give a little recap of what's going on here, because I know it must be a little, this unnerving. So this Bhagavad Gita is 18 chapters in a very long book called the Mahabharata. And it deals with many subjects, but the central theme is this battle for the leadership of the earth, which is Krishna's on the planet, and as he says in the 4th chapter, Yada yada hi dharmasa glana bhavati bharata, whenever and wherever there is an upsurge of irreligion in the world, and religion has been eclipsed, I come. I come to protect my devotees, to annihilate the miscreants, the evildoers, and to reestablish Dharma. So this is the whole Bhagavad Gita is centered in Kurukṣetra, which is a battlefield, but it's also a holy place, and it's known as Dharmakshetra. That's the first verse, Dharmakshetra, Kurukṣetra, and so it's a long story how the kingdom was usurped actually by Dhritarashtra. When the actual king, his younger brother Paṇḍra, Pandu, died untimely by accident. There's a long story behind that. And Pandu was very virtuous, and his 5 sons were very virtuous. Arjuna, or it says Yudhishthira, Bhīma, Arjuna, and the 2 twins, Sahadeva and Sakala. So, and they're great devotees of Krishna. So for the welfare of the whole earth, Krishna wanted Yudhishthira, the eldest of the Pandavas, to become king and rule the world. This all takes place about 5,000 years ago in what's now known as India. So there's all this intrigue. Dhritarashtra had 100 sons, the eldest of whom was Duryodhana, and they were thinking, well, my father is the eldest, why couldn't he be the king? And the reason is because he was blind. Although he was the eldest, he was blind there. His younger son, Pandu, took the kingdom. But when Pandu died, why couldn't Dhritarashtra's sons take over the kingdom rather than Pandu's sons, you see? So there's this little confusion about what's right. Anyway, so there's all this intrigue amongst Duryodhana, who's the eldest of the sons, trying to stop the Pandavas, often trying to annihilate them or assassinate them in different ways. So it's a long story, very wonderfully told in the Mahabharata, and it's culminating now in this battle. And before the battle, Krishna has taken this, the role of Arjuna's chariot driver. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That will become clear in the Bhagavad Gita. But he's taken a humble position as a driver of his own devotee's chariot. And when Arjuna sees on the other side of the 2 armies, the two enormous armies gathered, and he says to Krishna, please take my chariot between the 2 armies in what we call the no man's land. You know, the armies are facing each other ready for battle. I want to see who's on the other side, who's going to fight, who do I have to fight, you know. So he goes there, and then on the other side he sees all his friends and nephews. He sees his, he wasn't a physical grandfather, but he took the role of a grandfather when Pandu was killed, Bhishma Dev. and the pure devotee, wonderful, and he's a great fighter. And his teacher of martial arts, Dronacharya, is also on the other side. So Arjuna suddenly would say, get cold feet. He says, I don't want to kill my grandfather figure there who helped raise me, and my beloved teacher who taught me, and so many other relatives and friends and cousins and brothers. So he says, I can't fight. This is a critical time. Krishna is relying on Arjuna, the lead fighter on the side of good, to fight in the battle, and so good can conquer evil, so to speak. And now suddenly he doesn't want to fight. He's moved by this bodily relationship that he has. And so this whole first chapter is Arjuna revealing his mind and then his paralysis. He knows what Krishna wants him to do, and he's his best friend and he's God, but he can't do it. His gut reaction is, I don't want to. If I killed Bhishma Deva and Dronacharya and the others, then whatever I enjoy in the kingdom will be stained with their blood. I can't do it. So he sits down in a chariot at the end of this chapter, and he drops his bow, which is like the last thing that a Kshatriya wants to do. And he's kind of in this existential, ontological dilemma. And so the whole Gita is spoken to enable Arjuna to transcend that and come to his real nature and act on the spiritual platform rather than the bodily platform. So that's kind of a coming attraction. And we'll see it develops here in a very dramatic fashion. So let us go on. Unless there are some really, really urgent questions. Okay. Text 3. Now don't worry about the Sanskrit, but it's actually very potent just to hear it. It's sacred words. Pasyaitang pandaputranam achaya mahatim chamum vyudham jupitaputrena tavashishena dhimata. So this is Duryodhana speaking to his teacher, who is Dronacharya. Yeah. He trained a lot of the soldiers. O my teacher, behold the great army of the sons of Pandu, so expertly arranged by your intelligent disciple, the son of Jupiter. Purport. Duryodhana, a great diplomat, wanted to point out the defects of Dronacharya, the great Brahmin commander-in-chief. Dronacharya had some political quarrel with King Jupiter, the father of Draupadi, who was Arjuna's wife. As a result of this quarrel, Jupiter performed a great sacrifice by which he received the benediction of having a son who would be able to kill Dronacharya. Dronacharya knew this perfectly well, and yet as a liberal Brahmin he did not hesitate to impart all his military secrets when the son of Jupiter, Drishtadyumna, was entrusted to him for military education. Now, on the battlefield of Kurukṣetra, Drishtadyumna took the side of the Pandavas, and it was he who did not arrange for, but it was he who arranged their military phalanx, after having learned the art from Dronacharya. Duryodhana pointed out this mistake of Dronacharya so that he might be alert and uncompromising in the fighting. By this he wanted to point out that he should not be similarly lenient in battle against the Pandavas, who were also Dronacharya's affectionate students. Arjuna especially was his most affectionate and brilliant student. Duryodhana also warned that such leniency in the fight would lead to defeat. All right, let's go on. Atra shura maheshvasa Bhimarjana samayudhi Yuyudhano varatascha Drupadascha maharataha. Here in this army are many heroic bowmen equal in fighting to Bhīma and Arjuna, great fighters like Yuyudhan, Virata, and Drupada. Purport. Even though Drishtadyumna was not a very important obstacle in the face of Dronacharya's very great power in the military art, there were many others who were causes of fear. They are mentioned by Duryodhana as great stumbling blocks on the path of victory, because each and every one of them was as formidable as Bhīma and Arjuna. He knew the strength of Bhīma and Arjuna, and thus he compared the others with them. Drishtaketus Chekitana Kasirajas Tabiryavan Purajit Kunti Bhojascha Shaibhyascha Nadapungavaha. Chad, can you turn that off now? I think we're cool enough. There are also great heroic, powerful fighters like Drishtaketu, Chaitanya, Kashiraj, Purujit, Kuntibhoja, and Shaibya. Yudhamanyusta Vikranta, Uttamaujaste Biryavan, Saubhadro Draupadeyascha, Sarva Eva Maharata. There are the mighty Yudhamanyu, the very powerful Uttamauja, the son of Subhadra, and the sons of Draupadi. All these warriors are great chariot fighters. Asmakam tu vishistaye Tanabodha Vijottama Nayaka Mama Sainyasya Sangyartam Tan Bhavimite. But for your information, O best of the Brahmins, let me tell you about the captains who are especially qualified to lead my military force. Bhavan Bhishmascha Karnascha Kripascha Samatimjaya Ashvatthama Bhakarnascha Saumadattis Tatayavacha. There are personalities like you, Bhishma, Karna, Kripa, Ashvatthama, Vikarna, and the son of Somadatta called Bhurishava, who are always victorious in battle. Purport. Duryodhana mentions the exceptional heroes in the battle, all of whom are ever victorious. Vikarna is the brother of Duryodhana, Ashvatthama is the son of Dronacharya, and Saumadatti, or Bhurishava, is the son of the king of the Balikas. Karna is the half-brother of Arjuna, as he was born of Kunti before her marriage with King Pandu. Kripacharya's twin sister married Dronacharya. So I know this is, it's a little bit, for those who aren't familiar, I can understand. But be patient. When we get to chapter 2, there's some really interesting stuff about the soul. You okay? Okay, let's go on then. Check text 9. Anye cha bhavakshura Mararte tyakta jivitaha Nana shastra paharana Sarve yuddha visharadaha. There are many other heroes who are prepared to lay down their lives for my sake. All of them are well equipped with different kinds of weapons, and all are experienced in military science. Purport. As far as the others are concerned, like Jayadratha, Kritavarma, and Shalya, all are determined to lay down their lives for Duryodhana's sake. In other words, it is already concluded that all of them would die in the battle of Kurukṣetra for joining the party of the sinful Duryodhana. Duryodhana was, of course, confident of his victory on account of the above-mentioned combined strength of his friends. Aparyaptam tadasmakam balam bhishma virakshitam Paryaptam tvidam balam bhima virakshitam. Our strength is immeasurable, and we are perfectly protected by grandfather Bhishma, whereas the strength of the Pandavas, carefully protected by Bhima, is limited. Purport. Herein, an estimation of the comparative strength is made by Duryodhana. He thinks that the strength of his armed forces is immeasurable, being specifically protected by the most experienced general, grandfather Bhishma. On the other hand, the forces of the Pandavas are limited, being protected by a less experienced general, Bhima, who is like a fig in the presence of Bhishma. Duryodhana was always envious of Bhima because he knew perfectly well that if he should die at all, he would only be killed by Bhima. But at the same time, he was confident of his victory on account of the presence of Bhishma, who was a far superior general. His conclusion that he would come out of the battle victorious was well ascertained, but it was also completely mistaken. So, what's being painted here, just a nice little anecdote from the Mahabharata. So before this battle is joined here, there were many diplomatic moves in which each side was trying to get the advantage. So there came one point, because Duryodhana was, he wasn't religious at all. In other words, in the sense of understanding God and relation with God, and that Krishna is God. So, but Arjuna knew that perfectly well. So there was an incident where Arjuna and Duryodhana both went to see Krishna, and Krishna was sleeping. And there was an arrangement that whoever Krishna saw first, when he woke up, then he could ask Krishna for any boon, either his army or Krishna himself. So Arjuna stood at the foot of Krishna, at the foot of his bed, and Duryodhana was at the head, thinking that, well, Krishna wake up, will see me first. But when Krishna woke up, he saw Arjuna first. And so Arjuna got to choose, and Duryodhana said, oh, now we're finished, you know. But so Krishna said, okay, here's the deal. I will be on one side, whoever takes me, but I'm not going to fight. And on the other side is my army. He had an army with so many soldiers and elephants and horses and infantry, very powerful, that he brought to the battle, or that he was going to bring to the battle. So Duryodhana, you know, he didn't get the first dibs, you know, so he thought, oh, I'm finished. But Arjuna, he said, I'll just take you, Krishna. I don't need your army. Because he knew Krishna's power. Duryodhana was an atheist. He didn't really believe. So Duryodhana, oh, thank God, you know, I'll take the army. I'll get all those elephants and fighters, you know, I'll definitely win. So that's what happened. So Arjuna is there, and there's big armies, but Krishna he promised not to fight. So, you know, what good is that, you know? But as things worked out, the fact that Krishna was on Arjuna's side proved critical. First of all, he broke the promise. Bhishma Dev forced him to break the promise, because Bhishma Dev was so powerful that he was threatening to kill Arjuna at one point, unless Krishna stopped him. But Krishna had promised not to fight. So what is he going to do? So Krishna said, "Okay, I'll break my promise." So he broke his promise, got off the chariot, pulled up. The chariot was destroyed, so he pulled up one of the wheels, which acted like his disc, you know. And he started running toward Bhishma Dev. And so Bhishma said, "Come and get me. I'm not going to do anything." So he didn't kill Bhishma Dev, but Bhishma Dev stopped attacking Arjuna, because Arjuna was off his chariot. He could have killed him, you know. And Bhishma Dev had promised Duryodhana that I will kill all the Pandavas, beginning with Arjuna, tomorrow. Because what happened is that Duryodhana knew that Bhishma Dev had a lot of feeling for the Pandavas. He loved them, you know. But he was on his own side, because Bhishma Dev was dependent on Duryodhana for maintenance. He was taking money from him and so forth, so he felt obliged to fight for him. But Duryodhana said, "You're not fighting with full enthusiasm because you love the Pandavas and everything, you know." He says, "Okay. So tomorrow," so here's the story. So I just heard this on the tape. Prabhupada tells the story. So tomorrow I have these 5 special arrows. You know, there's all these mystic things going on in the battlefield, and each one of them has one of the Pandavas' names on it. You know, so I'll definitely kill them tomorrow with these arrows. So Duryodhana said, "Okay, look, give me the arrows. I'll keep them. You know, safe, so nothing will happen." Now Krishna, he's not going to fight, but he knows everything. So he knew about this with the arrows. So he told Arjuna, and this is one of the amazing things of the culture back then, that these fighters, of course, many of them were in the same dynasty. Like the Kurus and the Pandavas really belonged to the same dynasty. So they, in one sense, they had very close physical relationship, you know, bodily relationship. But regardless of that, at the end of the day, when the conch shells blew and the sun was about to set, then they stopped fighting, and so they would visit each other and they'd have dinner together. It's not like they kept up enmity. There's a certain etiquette, you know, in the Kshatriya field. So at the end of the day, Krishna told Arjuna he's got these special arrows because he's omniscient. So he knew what the whole deal was. So you go to him after fighting stops in the evening, you know, and everything changed. And you go to Duryodhana and you ask him, "I have a request from you." And at that time, Duryodhana said, "Whatever you want. You know, if you want me to stop the fighting now and we give you the kingdom, I'll give it to you." Because that would be very dishonorable for Arjuna to just beg that, you know. So he said, no, the fighting will go on. But give me those 5 arrows. So Hare Krishna. Darshan at 8:15. So Duryodhana said, okay, this is the etiquette. He's a qualified Kshatriya. He's asking him this, and even though that was critical. So he gave him those arrows, and in that way, Bhishma didn't have the arrows. But even in spite of that, he said, I'm still going to kill Arjuna unless Krishna breaks his promise. I'm going to force him to break his promise. He has a choice. To keep his promise and see his beloved Arjuna killed, or to break it and to save his devotee. So that's what happened. When Arjuna was, Hare Krishna, welcome. Would you like to stay for class? We just asked, yeah, you can stay, but please sit, it's on this bench over here. This is the ladies' side. And so, so the arrows were gone, but still Bhishma was such a great fighter that he put Arjuna in danger. His chariot was destroyed, and he was off the chariot, and Bhishma was threatening to kill him. So Krishna got down from the chariot, picked up one of the wheels, and it acted like his disc, and he's running toward Bhishma Dev. And Bhishma Dev is firing his arrows at Krishna. And it's described that, Krishna is into the mood, and he lets his body be pierced by these arrows. But still, Bhishma Dev maintains his status as a great devotee, even though he's attacking Krishna there. And finally, he says, kill me, I don't mind. It's a great honor to be killed by you, Krishna. But just at that moment, the conch shells blew and the day's fighting was over. And so, this is also told in the Bhagavatam, first canto. So anyways, there's a lot of backstories and forward stories that come into this. This is just setting the scene. That's what this first chapter. Okay, so let's go on. And I think I'm in text 11, right? Yes. Ayaneshu chasarveshu yata bhagamavastitaha bhishmame babirakshantu bhavantak sarva evihi. All of you must now give full support to Grandfather Bhishma as you stand at your respective strategic points of entrance into the phalanx of the army. Purport. Duryodhana, after praising the prowess of Bhishma, further considered that others might think that they had been ordered. You can sit on a bench if you want. Okay. Give support to Grandfather as you stand at your respective strategic points of entrance into the phalanx. Duryodhana, after praising the prowess of Bhishma, further considered that others might think that they had been considered less important, so in his usual diplomatic way, he tried to adjust the situation in the above words. He emphasized that Bhishma Dev was undoubtedly the greatest hero, but he was an old man, so everyone must especially think of his protection from all sides. He might become engaged in the fight, and the enemy might take advantage of his full engagement on one side. Therefore, it was important that other heroes not leave their strategic positions and allow the enemy to break the phalanx. Duryodhana clearly felt that the victory of the Kurus depended on the presence of Bhishma Dev. He was confident of the full support of Bhishma Dev and Dronacharya in the battle, because he well knew that they did not even speak a word when Arjuna's wife Draupadi, in her helpless condition, had appealed to them for justice, while an attempt was being made to force her to appear naked in the presence of all the great generals in the assembly. That's an adjustment in the text that's going to be, it'll appear in future printings. Although he knew that the two generals had some sort of affection for the Pandavas, he hoped that these generals would now completely give it up as they had done during the gambling performances. So that's another story which we won't get into. So now it's trying to buck up everyone's courage, before the battle begins. And here you see Bhishma is going to help him by blowing the conch shells. His conch shell. Tasya sanjanayan harsham Kuruvriddha pitamaha Singhanadam vinodyochai Shankam dadma pratapavan. Then Bhishma, the great valiant grandsire of the Kuru dynasty, the grandfather of the fighters, blew his conch shell very loudly, making a sound like the roar of a lion, giving Duryodhana great joy. Is someone, who blows a conch shell like that around here? Purushottama. I was just ready to bow down. He was doing the puja. Boom! I immediately thought of this verse. He practically split my ears. That's the way it's supposed to be, actually. I gotta always wear my cotton, be careful. Purport: the grandsire of the Kuru dynasty could understand the inner meaning of the heart of the grandson of his grandson Duryodhana, and out of his natural compassion for him, he tried to cheer him up by blowing his conch shell very loudly, befitting his position as a lion. Indirectly, by the symbolism of the conch shell, he informed his depressed grandson Duryodhana that he had no chance of victory in the battle because the Supreme Lord Krishna was on the other side. But still, it was his duty to conduct the fight, and no pains would be spared in that connection. Okay, now we'll see what happens. You see, Tatakshankascha Beryascha Panabanaka Gomakaha Sahasayabhabhyahanyanta Sashabdas Tumalo Bhavat. Now, just see what a wonderful language this Sanskrit is. Here's this word tumalo, which means tumult. It's the same word in English. How about the word nama? What do you think that means? Name. We have martya, and we have mortician and mortuary, and in a sense we have martya means death, you know, like that, martya loka. So there's a lot of things you can see like that. It's amazing. After that, the conch shells, drums, bugles, trumpets, and horns were all suddenly sounded, and the combined sound was tumultuous. Tatak shvetar hayaya yukte mahati syandane stitao Madhava Pandavaschaiva Divyal Shankar Padadmatuhu. On the other side, both Lord Krishna and Arjuna, stationed on a great chariot drawn by white horses, sounded their transcendental conch shells. Notice the transcendental. Purport: in contrast with the conch shell blown by Bhishma Dev, the conch shells in the hands of Krishna and Arjuna are described as transcendental. The sounding of the transcendental conch shells indicated that there was no hope of victory for the other side because Krishna was on the side of the Pandavas. Jayas tu Panduputanam yesham pakshe janardana. Victory is always with persons like the sons of Pandu because Lord Krishna is associated with them. And whenever and wherever the Lord is present, the goddess of fortune is also there, because the goddess of fortune never lives alone without her husband. Therefore, victory and fortune were awaiting Arjuna, as indicated by the transcendental sound produced by the conch shell of Vishnu, or Lord Krishna. Besides that, the chariot on which both the friends were seated had been donated by Agni, the fire god, to Arjuna, and this indicated that this chariot was capable of conquering all sides wherever it was drawn over the three worlds. Now, I have to share what just came to mind when I read this. The modern Sankirtan movement, which is characterized by loud chanting of the holy name, accompanied by instruments, sometimes conch shells, and dancing, that same, very loud and penetrating sound of the holy name is also Krishna, and conquering. Nobody's going to die from that, but the evil in the heart, the modes of nature, all that is keeping us bound to this world and ignorant of our real self, is conquered and destroyed. And when Prabhupada came to America, what did he really have with him? He didn't have much money, 6 rupees or so, 12 rupees. Oh, sorry, he sold a set of books on the boat to the captain for $20. So he was really wealthy. You know, that's all he had, $20 and 20 rupees. And he was elderly, from the externally it looked like it was a hopeless proposition to start a worldwide Sankirtan movement with temples and devotees all over, this elderly man coming to Manhattan and wandering around. But because he had Krishna with him, just like Krishna's on the chariot, so he's on Prabhupada's chariot, his body, he's with us all the time. And if you're doing Krishna's work and you're relying on his inspiration and you're armed with this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, then it's just like on the battlefield you can be victorious. And Prabhupada was against so many odds. The Sankirtan movement has spread and is still spreading. Because it's real, Krishna's there, and he's ready to help any one of us who take shelter of him and chant the holy name and adopt his philosophy and understand it. And so it's still spreading throughout the world, and it's really the only hope or the world that people adopted. And because, I mean, in how many ways is the world about to end? I'm not even going to count them, you know, but only Krishna consciousness can save us. All right, moving along. So now, conquering wherever it was drawn over the three worlds. Yes. So now Krishna blows his special conch shell, and you see the difference. Pāñcajanya Rishikesho Devadattam Dhananjaya Pauṇḍram Dadma Mahashankam Bhīma Karma Vrakodaraha. Lord Krishna blew his conch shell called the Pāñcajanya. Arjuna blew his, the Devadatta, and Bhīma, the voracious eater and performer of herculean tasks, blew his terrific conch shell called Pauṇḍra. Purport. Lord Krishna is referred to as Rishikesh in this verse because he is the owner of all senses. The living entities are part and parcel of him, and therefore the senses of the living entities are also part and parcel of his senses. The impersonalists cannot account for the senses of the living entities, and therefore they are always anxious to describe all living entities as senseless or impersonal. The Lord, situated in the hearts of all living entities, directs their senses, but he directs in terms of the surrender of the living entity, and in the case of a pure devotee, he directly controls the senses. Here on the battlefield of Kurukṣetra, the Lord directly controls the transcendental senses of Arjuna, and thus his particular name of Rishikesh. The Lord has different names according to his different activities. For example, his name is Madhusudana because he killed the demon of the name Madhu. His name is Govinda because he gives pleasure to the cows and to the senses. His name is Vasudeva because he appeared as the son of Vasudeva. His name is Devaki Nandana because he accepted Devaki as his mother. His name is Yashoda Nandana because he awarded his childhood pastimes to Yashoda at Vrindavan. His name is Parthasarathi because he worked as a charioteer of his friend Arjuna. Similarly, his name is Rishikesha because he gave direction to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukṣetra. Arjuna is referred to as Dhananjaya in this verse because he helped his elder brother in fetching wealth when it was required by the king to make expenditures for different sacrifices. Similarly, Bhīma is known as Vrakodara, because he could eat as voraciously as he could perform herculean tasks. I don't know about you, but I learned the word herculean when I first read it in Prabhupada's book. Just like Hercules, very powerful. And there's some wonderful pastimes with Bhīma. The Pandavas, such as killing the demon Hidimba. So the particular types of conch shell blown by the different personalities on the side of the Pandavas, beginning with the lords, were all very encouraging to the fighting soldiers. On the other side, there were no such credits, nor the presence of Lord Krishna, the supreme director, nor that of the goddess of fortune. So they were predestined to lose the battle, and that was the message announced by the sounds of the conch shells. And it goes on with the conch shells. Ananta Vijayam Raja Kunti Putro Yudhishthiraha Nakula Sahadevascha Sugosha Manipushpakau Kashyascha Parameshvasa Shikandi Cha Maharataha Drishtadyumno Varatascha Satyakischa Parajitaha Drupado Draupadeyascha Sarvasha Pritavipate Saubhadrascha Mahabahu Shankan Dadmu Patak Patak. King Yudhishthira, the son of Kunti, blew his conch shell, the Ananta Vijay, and Nakula and Sahadev blew the Sugosha and Manipushpaka. That great archer, the king of Kashi, the great fighter Shikandi, Drishtadyumna, Virata, the unconquerable Satyaki, Drupada, the sons of Draupadi, and others, O king, such as the mighty armed son of Subhadra, all blew their respective conch shells. Wow, what a noise that must have made. Purport. Sanjay informed King Dhritarashtra very tactfully that his unwise policy of deceiving the sons of Pandu and endeavoring to enthrone his own sons on the seat of the kingdom was not very laudable. The signs already clearly indicated that the whole Kuru dynasty would be killed in that great battle, beginning with the grandsire Bhīma down to the grandsons like Abhimanyu and others, including kings from many states of the world. All were present there and all were doomed. The whole catastrophe was due to King Dhritarashtra because he encouraged the policy followed by his sons. Okay, let's do one or two more. So Gosho Dhartarashtranam Vidiyani Vidarayat Nabascha Padabhinchaiva Tumalo Vyanunadayan. The blowing of these different conch shells became uproarious, vibrating both in the sky and on the earth. It shattered the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra. Purport. When Bhīma and the others on the side of Duryodhana blew their respective conch shells, there was no heartbreaking on the part of the Pandavas. Such occurrences are not mentioned, but in this particular verse it is mentioned that the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra were shattered by the sounds vibrated by the Pandavas' party. This is due to the Pandavas and their confidence in Lord Krishna. One who takes shelter of the Supreme Lord has nothing to fear, even in the midst of the greatest calamity. All right, so we'll do one more verse and then I'll give you my little song about how we can become free of fear through the holy name. All right, so let's see, one more. Ata vyavasitan dristva dhartarashtra'n kapidvajaha pravite shastra sampate dhanurudyamya pandavaha vishikesham tadavakyam idamahamahi. At that time, Arjuna, the son of Pandu, seated in the chariot bearing the flag marked with Hanuman, took up his bow and prepared to shoot his arrows. O king, after looking at the sons of Dhritarashtra drawn in military array, Arjuna then spoke to Lord Krishna these words. Purport. The battle was just about to begin. It is understood from the above statement that the sons of Dhritarashtra were more or less disheartened by the unexpected arrangement of military force by the Pandavas, who were guided by the direct instructions of Lord Krishna on the battlefield. The emblem of Hanuman on the flag of Arjuna is another sign of victory, because Hanuman cooperated with Lord Ram in the battle between Ram and Ravana, and Lord Ram emerged victorious. Now both Ram and Hanuman were present on the chariot of Arjuna to help him. Lord Krishna is Ram himself, and wherever Lord Ram is, his eternal servitor Hanuman and his eternal consort Sita, the goddess of fortune, are present. Therefore Arjuna had no cause to fear any enemies whatsoever. And above all, the Lord of the senses, Lord Krishna, was personally present to give him direction. Thus all good counsel was available to Arjuna in the matter of executing the battle in such auspicious conditions. He, arranged by the Lord for his eternal devotee, lay the signs of assured victory. So we'll pick this up tomorrow, but I'm going to give you this little rendition of a song in Sanskrit by Rupa Goswami. It's very appropriate. Today is his disappearance day. And we had some nice readings this morning. So, the Sanskrit is very beautiful also, so I'll give you that. The refrain goes like this. Deva Krishna bhavantam vande manmanasamadakadama payanidapata Pāñcajanya yadapi samadhishu vidadapi pashyadananamanakāgamirichim idamichāminashammitavacha tadakripi pābuddhavichim. Okay. Deva bhavandam vande manmanasamadakadama padame padapanknamakabande Bhaktamudanchadi yandapi madhava natvaima matri padameshwarata tadubitavadikadhurkata gananavadhatri Krishna bhavandam vande manmanasamadakadama payanija patapankachammakadande Ayamamallolati yaja sanatana kaladharbudadasabaram nivasachi nityamahamati ninnivindan maranivasaram. So that's the Sanskrit. And I'm trusting probably you didn't understand too much, but it has a nice lilt, doesn't it? So here's the English. O Krishna, dearest Lord, I bow to you and then entreat. Please place the bee in my restless mind in the honey of your lotus feet. Okay. O Krishna, dearest Lord, I bow to you and then entreat. Please place the bee of my restless mind in the honey of your lotus feet. Though even Brahma, deep in trance, cannot achieve his goal, a glimpse of your effulgent toenails soothing to the soul, because I've heard of your compassion's endless waves, that very vision is the only boon my poor heart craves. O Madhava, despite great effort, I have not attained a drop of pure devotion. This has brought me endless pain. But though it seems impossible to ever fill this need, your monumental power gives me hope I shall succeed. Today, O Lord, please let my feet. Today, O Lord, please let my mind stay at your lotus feet. The reservoir of endless pleasure. Endless pleasure, wonderful and sweet. I pray that for eternity my mind may there reside, to relish luscious honey that defeats Ambrosia's pride. But now, revealing my senility, there was another one that I intended to sing, and I'll sing that one. So this just starts with one verse. It's got a beat. Anghak sanghatakilang sukadadiha deva sakadalokasya tadanidibatamila jalading jayachitakan mangalang hare nama. Now this was uttered by Haridas Thakur in a meeting with Raghunath Das Goswami and his parents, all about discussing the glories of the holy name. And here he's explaining why the holy name is so powerful that one of its little byproducts is liberation. What to speak of pure love of God. So in his explanation, and the meaning of the verse goes like this. When the moon is invisible, now you have to go back 500 years, there's no electric lights or anything. So when the sun goes down and there's no moon, it becomes very dark, right? When the moon is invisible, withered to nil, and the sun is long gone from the sky, then an ocean of darkness envelops this world, and the timorous fear they might die. But that thick pall of gloom is at once swept away when the first signs of sunrise appear, and the dawning of day gives assurance to all that in truth there is nothing to fear. In a similar way, when illusion holds sway and the soul has forgotten his Lord, then the darkness of ignorance covers his heart. Sin and suffering are his reward. But as soon as he sings, or as soon as he says Krishna's name even once, in a manner that doesn't offend, then his ignorance flees like the darkness at dawn, and his sin and his suffering end. So there's nothing to fear, for the sun of the name has appeared with his powers divine. In your heart may that sun, benedictive for all, become fixed and eternally shine. So that's my little, that's Bhadri Narayan Maharaj's favorite, one of my poems. But it's really true. And that Prabhupada was asked, what do you feel when you chant Hare Krishna? And he gave it right away without hesitation, fearlessness. You can imagine, here's a lone old gentleman, looks like frail and everything, but he's completely fearless because he feels he has Krishna on his chariot, that he's serving Krishna, Krishna's protection. And so many difficulties he was able to overcome, and dangers, you know. I mean, he's in a head-on car crash in Mauritius, but a few moments before the car crash, he braced himself. He got some, forewarning, and he was slightly injured, but it wasn't serious. So many things like that, amazing stories. And he overcame everything, and then the movement grew all over the world, and it's still growing. Okay, time for a kirtan. Let us adjourn, and we'll have the beautiful darshan of Shri Radha Giridhari. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. And we will commence tomorrow with texts 21 and 22. And you're invited if you'd like to return.